All right, hello Chez. I'm going to show you the tutorial for the one that you asked as well. I'm just going to show you a couple little tricks with a few of the orders today. In particular, this one that you had just sent me, where you're just looking for all of the color range to be black. You can see that all this stuff here is you've got more than one tone. So the best thing to do, change it to grayscale and then just change it from grayscale into CMYK. And that should make everything just black tone. Now, if you're talking about actually eliminating some of these all the kind of the grays and the white and all those different tones, what I would do is if you hold down Control, I think it's Control on a Windows computer, and click the thumbnail of your image, you'll actually see, and I'll just create a new layer here, you'll actually see it creates a selection of all of the information, basically a silhouette of that layer. So then I would just take that silhouette, take my, either use Shift F5, the fill tool, to fill it in, or you can always use the paint bucket tool, and then you just have a straight up black image there. Okay, anyways, number two, I'm just going to show you this super quick as well. So with ones like this, there's an easy way. Once you set up and I mentioned it to you before, Photoshop Actions. Once you set Photoshop Actions up, you can run through orders like this in no time. And I mean, I don't know if you guys are taking, because it looks like the image is the same for all of these. So I don't know if you're taking these, just doing one size and printing one size, but I would usually, and what I used to do, first of all, I trim it, and I've set a special command to Control comma. I trim out all the extra space. I look at, anyways, I was saying before, I usually make an individual file a different size for each size shirt. So for small, I'd make 10 inches wide or 11 inches wide, medium, 12 inches wide, large, 13 inches wide. I don't know how you guys do it over there, but that's sort of how I do it. Now, I'm not sure if they want white in this image, but I'll check with you after. But I'll just show you this for now. These are the actions I've set up. You can see right here it says resize width. And what I do here, instead of every time having to go Control-Alt-I and adjusting the image size, putting it up to, if it was 72, putting it up to 300 resolution, or going adjustments, right here, image size. I've set that up already. So under here, under my actions, it's a preset program of actions that it runs through every time. So it converts to mode in case I get something that's a GIF that's in bitmap mode. It always converts to RGB mode. Sets background. So if this is a locked background, like that, I'll undo that. It just releases the background. And then it adjusts the image size. So you can see here, it adjusts the width for 11 inches to 11 inches, 300 pixels, and it uses bicubic enlargement, which, I mean, under here, it's just how you enlarge. So reduction, obviously, enlargement, it just depends on the type of image you have, but for the most part, automatic is kind of fine. But I like to use bicubic enlargement when I'm enlarging. Anyways, so this is the small one. I would go like this. I'd hit, I want the small one, let's say, to be 10.5 inches. I have set this to play the action, Control-Shift, period. Continue, and it's easy as that. It takes pretty much 2 seconds. And then, for the second part of it, just to do that quickly to show you, that's kind of a little bit small. I also have stuff over here, an automatic save option, canvas up, canvas down. So canvas up, I'll show you right now. I have it set to F4. So I know the text needs to go a little bit above it. Hit F4, that automatically bumps my canvas up 20 inches. And I mean, I know 20 inches is a little bit too much, but you know, I have a quick command to trim it after. You know, that's all set up there. I can just press command, comma, it trims it all, and now I'm ready to save. And I think I have to change it a little bit now because my save action isn't the same as it used to be. But anyways, hopefully that gives you an idea of what's going on there. And I mean, you know, when I'm doing this, I would usually start with the largest size. So if it's the same image for all three of them, and I should have done this in the beginning, I should have started with it being 13 inches and then save that as underscore, you know, I actually usually do this. Copy just the number, save it in as underscore C. And remember, anytime you click any sort of drop down button, instead of looking for the thing that you want to find, you can just type it. So I know I want PNG, so I type PNG. It brings it right to me. So Google Drive code. And I mean, you can go into the folder after and then kind of save them all, but I find it quicker to just sit here and save them individually. While it's saving, I'll make the next one 12. Sometimes it takes a little bit extra because the compression is so high. Save that as underscore B, PNG, code, enter, enter, done. While it's saving, do the other one. Control Shift, oops. Like I said, sometimes it saves a little bit slow. Control Shift save underscore A, type PNG, Google Drive code. Okay, so now that's all done. And now I'll show you another quick little trick here. I'll have to reopen Rafting Pick after. Anytime you're working in Photoshop, and especially with a job like we're doing, you get a lot of files and you can get really, really cluttered. So every once in a while before I start working on a new file, I like to close all of my windows. And instead of pressing Control, I'm on a Mac, mind you, so it's Command for me. But instead of pressing Command W and closing window by window, you can actually press Control Alt W and it'll close all the windows at once. Unless, you know, you got to be careful because if you want to save stuff, it's going to ask you. But I don't need to save anything here. I'm good. Close it all. And then I can start fresh with the next image that I'm working on, which in this case is your rafting pick. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to go quickly find a sample image. Let's just say landscape. You know, the thing is when you're on Google Images, the best way to find images, I mean, you should always find something that's Creative Commons, unless, you know, it's personal or you don't really care. It's not, you want to use these search tools. They're very, very important. And that's, you know, with large, I'm going to get a big, nice, high quality image. And you can even go more in depth, 2 megapixels, 4 megapixels, 6, huge images. You can go all the way up to 70, which is a massive, massive image. It's going to have good print quality. But as you know, a lot of stuff that comes on web and a lot of stuff that customers send us can be really, really bad quality. And sometimes I just go to Google Images, bring it through there, and I can kind of find, because any image you have, you know, this is a little sort of secret, but any image you have, you can take that downloaded image, drop it up there. If you right click that, if you're in Google Chrome, search Google for this image. Okay, so a lot of the times when I get a bad image, that's actually what I do. Mind you, maybe 80% of the images I get, you won't be able to find on the web, or you can find it and it's the same size. You just have to sort of work with it, but that's a whole nother story. Anyways, I'm going to take one of these, you know, I like how this one looks, so I'm going to take that, wait for it to load. maybe just pop it up in this new window. That's another thing. If you hold Control and click any link, it's going to open it. Instead of opening it within this window, which I don't really like, I want to stay on this page. So you just press Control, click, you're going to open another page there. Okay? You can save image as. Another thing you can always do, just drag directly into Photoshop. The difference is when you drag directly into Photoshop, it's going to save in a temporary images file. So if you don't save this image at the end of the day, or if you save it inside that temporary folder, it's going to get wiped away. So if you want to keep the image on your computer, make sure to save it to your desktop, to your downloads, wherever you're going to use it. So what I would do here to accomplish this effect, first off, I just pop this up to 300. Whenever I'm working in print, unless I know for a fact it's going to be on web, I always pop it up to 300. Just because it's easier. I mean, even sometimes when I'm working on stuff with web, it's easier to take something big, shrink it down, than it is something small and blow it up. So what I'm going to do here, just like I showed you before, instead of trying to just select all this stuff and get the general shape of things, this is such an easy and awesome trick. The thumbnail, it might look different for you. I have specific settings. I mean, under panel options, you can change the size of your thumbnail. I have it to none because, I kind of know what's going on. The little paintbrush just tells me it's a raster object, and that also acts as my thumbnail. So if I click that actually, and I'm going to make a new layer here, that actually gives me the exact selection of this shape around the edge. So, if this type of edge is the edge that you wanted, you could actually just take this image, and then what I'm going to do here, I'm going to hide this just so you can kind of get the idea of what I mean. Take this image, select the thumbnail by holding down Control and clicking the thumbnail, and then fill it in either with, like I said, with the G. And I'll show you a quick trick here too. If you have, let's say you have red there, and in the background you've got another red, and you want to go back to black and white, easy trick, just press D, and you see, switch back to black and white. Also, if you want to switch between your foreground and background color, X, X, X. There's lots of little commands all over your keyboard that can really expedite your sort of daily work in Photoshop. Anyways, so you can take the G tool and just fill that in. Easy, just like that. Now you can see the edge, it's a little bit soft here, and I kind of don't like that. Now this is a really cool trick that you can use, and I think I showed it to you in the burnt images tutorial. Refine Edge. It's such an amazing tool. It'll come in so handy. On Windows, it's going to be I think Control Alt R. So Control Alt R. It'll bring it up. You can see how the edge looks here. Okay, so I'm going to turn up that contrast, make the edge nice and hard, and you can see the difference. I mean, especially if I zoom in nice and close. Also, that's another little trick. Hold down the space bar, and it turns into the hand tool. So if you're zoomed up close, if you press Command 1, which does 100% view, Command 0 fit the screen, Command 1, you can pan around and kind of see what's going on up close. So contrast off, contrast on. I like it way better like that. Nice hard edge. I mean, it'll be up to you. Also, shift edge if you want a little bit more of that effect, but I think this is going to be good for now. Control 0 to zoom back out. D to get the black and white basic colors back. G, and then I'm just going to drop that in there. Or Shift 5, which is fill. And fill's great because you can do content aware, you can do 50% gray, white, black, whatever. There's all sorts of stuff you can do. So I'm just going to go black. Easy, just like that. And you know, to be honest, you don't even really need to, I was just using the black as an example, but you don't even really need to do that. You can kind of just take this here, I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste it into, actually I'm going to blow this up before I do anything, 300. And I'm going to release the background. It's always, I mean, I never ever like having something locked as a background. You can double click the lock. I have it set though to control, comma. Oops, no I don't. Control shift, comma, that's the one. Okay. So now that's, and oops, I'm just gonna collapse this menu. I'm just gonna paste in the black. I'm gonna blow this up. And that's another quick little thing. You can hold if you're using the selection tool, your standard move tool. You can get rid of the transform controls if you're moving something around and you find that distracting. You know, move it pixel by pixel. But show transform controls. If you hold shift, it's going to constrain your proportions. So you're not, you know, if you don't hold shift, you can make it crunched, you can do that. There's all sorts of different stuff you can do. But I want to constrain the proportions. But the other thing is, I want to blow it up from the center. I don't like how it's using this corner over here as the anchor point. I want to blow it up from the center. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to hold down Option Shift at the same time. Or sorry, on Windows it's going to be Alt Shift. And that's going to blow it up straight from the center. You know, I could also, you know, and you press enter to make it happen. I'm going to undo that just because I'm going to quickly show you something. I want this to be the exact height of my actual image. So I'm going to check the size of my image using Control-Alt-I, image size. So my height is 15 inches. I'm going to copy 15 in case it was a number like that with a decimal. I'm going to go OK. I'm going to go back to my layer. A quick little thing, you know, if you've got a bunch of layers and you don't want to get confused, Control / it's also the question mark. That's going to let you name it. So I'm going to use that as silhouette. And if you press Alt and the square bracket, that's going to change the layer that you're on. If you press Control and the square bracket, it's going to move where the layer is. All this stuff you can also do with dragging and just clicking, but once you learn the key commands, like I said, it's just going to expedite all of your work. You're going to get stuff done much faster, and you're going to have time for new things, whether it be to learn new skills, to take on new projects, more clients, whatever it may be. So I'm going to name that background so I don't get confused. I'm going to go back to my silhouette layer, and you know, once you click that, you can do it, or you can press this, Control T. It's going to bring up all these options, and anytime you see a percentile, you can always right-click that. So I right-click that. I want to know what it is in inches because the percentage isn't working for me. Oops, I actually meant to get the height. So I want to know what the height is in inches. I'm going to click this symbol, which always means constrained proportions, to make sure it doesn't get out of whack. And then I'm going to paste in 15. So now it's the exact same height as my entire image. Okay, so same thing as before. I'm going to select my silhouette layer. I'm going to hold down Control. I'm going to click the thumbnail to get the selection. I'm going to hide that just so we can see it. And what I'm going to do here, because if I delete this part now, it's going to delete the wrong part, and that's not what I want. I'm going to inverse my selection, which is under the Select menu, but you can also press Control-Shift-I. Okay, and you can tell it's inverse because now you can see the selection around the border. And then I would just go like this. Boom. Delete just like that. Now, you know, like I've said before, there's a million ways to sort of do anything. If you were trying to create a texture like this on your own, what I would do is I would look up something like paint splatter and Google Images. You know, I would look for some sort of, once again, it's kind of nicer to use the search tools, size, large, because like I said, always better to go from big to small than small to big. So, you know, nothing here is looking too great to me, but I'm just trying to give you an example. There, you know, I could use something like this maybe. Oh, and see, this is perfect too because they've already actually cut it out. It's a transparent PNG, which is always ideal. Like I said before, stay away from those JPEGs. They just a world of trouble. So once again, Control T. I'm gonna 15. Oops, and I did the width. I gotta hit that. Height 15. Same height as my whole thing now. Enter, enter. And I'm gonna, to get back to, oops, I'm gonna, see, I should have done this before I deleted it. You always want to keep your original. That's the mistake I should have pointed out there. So you can either go duplicate layer or Control J. Easy. And once again, Control Shift I to select the inverse, delete, deselect, and now I have both versions. Okay, but anyways, I'm going to go back to my original version. I'm going to copy and paste it again. I'm going to maybe call this one Splatter. Splatter. And then I'm going to go here, copy, paste, Control T, get the proportions constrained, type in 15, enter, enter, and I'm good to go. Now I'm going to click, I'll call that Splatter, move it up with the silhouette, and then you can group that with Control G, name those textures or something like that. If you're experimenting with a few different kinds, and then same as before, select my splatter layer, Control click the thumbnail, hide it so I can see what's going on, go to my new copy, Control Shift I to select the inverse, delete that, and now I've got this cool effect here. You can do it with text. You can do it. I'll just do a quick example of that. You can do it with text. You can do it with pretty much anything you can possibly think of. So I'll with a quick text, I've got Mom's typewriter, which was the text I was working with for those jerseys earlier. Let's just example. Take that, shift to keep the proportions, and then I actually want to rasterize this text. So if you just right click here, or I mean you can click on the text thumbnail, but it's nice to rasterize text sometimes if you're manipulating it. And then the same thing, Control Shift I to get the inverse, delete the background, and then I've got text with a cool little, I mean that doesn't look super cool, but you get the general idea. If I wanted to take one of these sort of splatters and I'm just going to download that quick and get that sort of square shape that you had, all that I think I would do, select all, copy, I'd paste it into there. Sorry, I'll make a note of what I just did too. I think it might be the Windows button. See, the thing is, I'm on a Mac, so you might have to do a little bit of experimenting to find out exactly what button. But the Windows button and Tab, you can go through Windows really quick. Or the Control button and Tab, I can go through programs really quick. Shift, it goes backwards. And a lot of these button combinations apply to a lot of different programs. But anyways, let's say, so I'll select this little kind of area here, copy, paste, turn that around. And then here, I'm just gonna group all the other stuff quick, so it's not in the way. Call it extras or whatever. So now I just want to sort of take this, maybe take, you know, some of this side too. Oops. Some of this side too, to create a little copy. Oops. Copy paste. And now I want to, you know, make a. Oops. Keep messing up here. I want to make a sort of square with this information. All that I would do, like I said, you can press J to duplicate it, just move it over. Another cool trick, if you hold down Alt with the move selection tool, it's actually just going to duplicate that for you. But you have to be careful because it's going to duplicate it. Oops, never mind. I'm making little screw ups here. See, it's going to duplicate it on top of it, so it's not going to look perfect at first, but you can sort of go in, and I mean, I should have done this off the bat, deleted. That's why I like the transparent stuff, because it just deletes. You know, you don't have to deal with deleting white from an image after, but you know, you get the sort of idea there. You can go in, transform, flip horizontal. You can then, you know, squish some of it together, pull some of it further, kind of overlap stuff a bunch, and get that sort of effect that you were looking for. You can select these and with Control E merge them, so now they're all one. Or another little trick, you can merge preview. So let's say I had these 3 layers. I don't actually want to merge them. I want to keep them separate, but I want to see how they look merged. Control Shift E. Oops, no, that wasn't it. Control Alt Shift E. There you go. And now I've got I have my original 3, but now I also have a flattened preview. And then with this flattened preview, I mean, you get this sort of point. You can duplicate that. You know, slowly turn it into a square. Just sort of fiddle around like that. But you know, and anytime I'm using a lot of the same patterns to avoid making it all look like it's from the same thing, just keep flipping, keep manipulating. You can transform, use stuff like skew, just to kind of distort the proportions of stuff, just to, you know, throw off that perspective a little bit and make it look like you're not just recycling stuff. Flip it horizontal, flip it vertical, you know, stretch it out a little bit more, and then Control J, copy it one more time, hold Shift to rotate it. You know, if you don't hold Shift to rotate it, you can do fine angles, but when you hold Shift, it does by like 45 degrees, 90 degrees. Anytime you hold Shift, it's going to manipulate something in specific increments. Just like if you're using the arrow tool to move something, like your left and right arrows, if you hold Shift, it moves it by, I believe, 10 pixels. If you hold Control Shift, there's all sorts of little combinations of buttons that you'll come across the more you use Photoshop and the more you kind of experiment with things. So it never hurts to just, that's how I found out a lot of stuff, just sort of pressing random buttons. It sounds sort of silly, but sometimes it works. So instead of just flattening these, I'm going to do a flattened preview. So Control Alt Shift E. There's my preview. And then I'm just going to fill in this little oops, because I have it on contiguous, or I don't have it on contiguous. I'm going to fill in this little centerpiece. Click it one more time to get rid of the edge. Take the brush tool, just kind of touch stuff up. But there you go. And now that I have this, I'm going to do the same thing I did with all the other ones. I'm going to lock the proportions, change that to 15. Yep, 15. And now I've made the mistake of making it a little bit out of the frame. An easy thing you can do with the move tool selected, Control A to select all, as in the entire canvas. And then you'll see these up here. That is to center horizontally. That's to center vertically. And perfect, just like that. Now I'm going to go back to my background image. I'm going to duplicate that one more time. I'm going to hide the original. I'm going to go to my new splatter. Control click the thumbnail. Hide that again. Control Shift I to do inverse. And delete. And there you go. Just like that. And like I said before, you can set a little thing to trim. You can always go under image trim, but see here I have it set it to command comma. On Windows that would be control comma. And there you go. Perfect. Anyways, hopefully that tutorial was helpful. If you have any other questions about kind of the video and the stuff that I just went through, just let me know. I'm always glad to help. Hope you have an awesome weekend, and thanks again. You rock, Chez. See ya.